Greetings everyone, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, and I'm back to bring you another episode review for Season 7 of The Loud House. So let's get right into it. Today's episode is Pranks for Nothing. In this episode, Lori recruits Luan to help her classmates win a prank war against a rival college, but they keep getting one-upped up by the opposing school, despite Luan's training. The first thing I thought of when I first read the synopsis was that one episode of Saved by the Bell where the kids of Bayside were having their own prank war against their rivals at Valley. This Loud House episode isn't exactly a one-to-one matchup with Saved by the Bell, but the concept of having a prank war was still the same. Anyway, much like Stroke of Luck from Season 6, this is another episode that takes place exclusively at Fairway University and focuses on Lori and her classmates. We're also introduced to a rival college known as Sandtrap University, who are also the defending champions of the week-long prank war they have every year with Fairway. There's really not too much I can say about Brooke and Chet, the two students representing the other school, other than they're just a couple of one-dimensional bullies who take way too much pride in what they're doing. I mean, seriously, they really like to rub their condescending attitudes and victories in everyone's faces. However, I do give credit to Chet for being crafty enough to dress up in a Coach Niblick costume, thereby tricking Lori and her friends into setting off their sprinkler pudding prank intended for their rivals when they thought their Fairway instructor was going to be caught in the mayhem. But anyway, Lori recruits her little sister, the master of pranks herself, Luan, to help train her classmates on how to successfully win the prank war. She and Mr. Commander Coconuts, aka Luan's puppet in a drill sergeant uniform, put them through a pranking boot camp to sharpen their skills, and this little training montage was alright for the most part. Granted, it could have had a little less Commander Coconuts doing most of the talking and more focus on Luan giving out instructions, but I will say the one humorous thing to come out of their training was how they kept pissing off a gopher every time they set off a prank. The poor little guy just couldn't relax, and neither could the rest of his extended family during the final few seconds of the episode. But unfortunately, Lori and her classmates still wound up getting pranked when they thought they had finally gotten the upper hand. They thought they were going to nail Sandtrap with a few pranks of their own, but Sandtrap was one step ahead of them and pretty much turned Fairway's pranks against them. One example was Lori and her friends digging a hole and covering it up, only to fall into a ditch Sandtrap had already set up for them. This sort of ties into one of my nitpicks of the episode. After everyone successfully passes boot camp training, Luan just leaves, and that's the last time she's seen physically interacting with anyone. I was a little put off by this because I was sure she would have stuck around to help Lori and her friends given her expertise on pranking. My only guess is that it might have been against the rules for someone other than a student of either school to participate in the war, meaning Lori's team would have been disqualified if Sandtrap got pranked by someone who wasn't a college student. Now, to be fair, my theory is never explicitly stated for the record, and maybe the story could have worked in a loophole by saying there was never a rule saying either school couldn't recruit outsiders to help them win, but what we got is what we got. Plus, in a rather indirect way, Luan did help Lori and her friends come out on top. She mentioned earlier how anything can be a prank, so Lori tricked Brooke and Chet into thinking she and her classmates set up a bunch of booby traps all over the golf course at Sandtrap University. This caused Brooke and Chet to freak out and frantically dig up all 18 holes, and yet they didn't find a single booby trap. This led to the end of the war, with Fairway scoring a massive come-from-behind victory, but on a very conflicting, yet clever technicality. Each prank was worth 10 points, and since Lori tricked the other students into digging up all 18 holes, each hole equaling one individual prank, her team went from 0 points to 180 points overnight. Quite literally, actually. Even though I personally don't believe willingly digging up a golf course under false pretenses counts as a legitimate prank compared to instances like getting taken for a ride in a golf cart that was being controlled by someone else, what happened to Brooke and Chet still technically fell under the category of being a prank according to Luan. They were made to look foolish at the expense of their rivals by searching for something that wasn't even there, and they ultimately lost the war by basically pranking themselves. Lori and her classmates got to come out as winners, so the ending we were given came off as very satisfying. Overall, this Fairway exclusive episode may not be on the same level as Stroke of Luck, but it was still very entertaining from start to finish. Lori got a decent amount of screen time, something I've come to appreciate knowing how sparingly her character has been used since Season 5, and seeing her share the spotlight with some of her classmates was a nice touch. Speaking of whom, we also got to see the return of Luan from the Casagrandes episode Tee It Off, and of course Lori's roommate Marissa. Gotta love remembering those minor characters. Everything regarding Luan, minus Commander Coconuts, was pretty good, and the various pranks throughout the episode were worth a few laughs. I wish Luan had more involvement in the story, but that's just me. The last thing I want to mention is how Lori's once in a while eye bags are more permanent as of this episode. She's almost never animated without them throughout most of the plot. Sometimes she'll be drawn without them and then drawn with them in the same scene, but in different frames. I know this technically already started in the Netflix movie, but just like Lenny, as I pointed out in my review of Space Jammed, it would appear strange stress is finally starting to take its toll on Lori. I know it's not the most amazing observation worth making, but it's one of those things that always grabs my attention. I don't know why, but it just does for some reason. With that said, I give Pranks for Nothing an 8 out of 10. Well folks, that concludes my review of Pranks for Nothing. So I gotta ask, what did you guys think of this episode? Sound off in the comments below, and be sure to click that subscribe button for more Loud House related content. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys for the next video, but until then, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, signing off. Peace out, home slices.